Carry on. We're traveling like a tiny little inch on our star map every time, and then just, oh, I gotta interrupt you again. Permission to report, Lord Captain. Members of the sacred cult operating aboard this ship have requested an audience. They wish to present gifts and introduce themselves to their new captain. Members of a sacred cult. What sacred cult? They call themselves the Bloodspun Web. The cult defends the flagship from both internal and external threats. Lady Theodora held them in high regard and looked favorably upon their activities. Okay. I am ready to receive them. I'm wondering if this is tied to the DLC. Because it's, I think, some sort of... What was the DLC called? Don't remember. But this sounds related in my mind. I'm ready to receive them. I will commence preparations at once, Lord Captain. Okay. Huh. So they just had a bunch of slaves brought forward so they could just execute them in a public manner. I mean, they could be, you know, criminals. But somehow I'm doubting it. Those on the deck watch in awe as the final figure moves gracefully into a ceremonial pose. Some of the officers whisper in excitement while others murmur prayers to the God Emperor.
The undying Emperor commanded us to spin a web of blood around his children, and we obeyed. We obey still.
They fall silent as a tall young woman steps forward. She moves towards you soundlessly, the dim light casting shadows across the mask which conceals her face. The masked cultists repeat the words in a mournful whisper. We obey still. Undying Emperor is obviously the God Emperor, but not a terminology I'm used to hearing him referred to. Spin a web of blood. I don't know.
Domin von Valancius, death has whispered your name. We disown Domin Theodora. We renounce our oath to her.
The woman's slender finger has been fitted with a metal claw. She points it in your direction and gazes at you from behind her bone mask with the cold, grim eyes of an assassin. And then she pulls out a sinister curved blade, and similar weapons suddenly appear in the hands of her motionless companions. Death has whispered our name. You've disowned Theodora and renounced your oath to her. This could be a statement of preparing to attack us. Or it could be we renounce our oath to her and make a new oath to you. But I doubt it. That also would be a weird way of phrasing it. But they've definitely left it off in a position where it sounds like they're about ready to attack us. But I'm hoping not.
And now we give the gift of our blood to you. It is the gift of death. Death has whispered your name. The followers of the tenets of the web swear fealty to their new overlord and offer proof of their devotion.
Their blades sing through the air and rivulets of crimson flow onto the deck. The young woman bows her head reverently as she hands you a heavy parcel. The others bow their heads as well. They seem unconcerned by the blood that trickles down their fingers. Okay, so they are swearing loyalty to us. This is a very strange cult. But alright.
We give you a blade, the silent verdict. The Undying One has chosen you to wield this instrument of death. We give you one of our own, Kibellah. She will be your shield and shadow. And we give you the blood of these traitors. The tenets of the web will purify their souls.
Silent verdict. It's a two-handed melee weapon, so probably not ideal for any of our people. Although, if they're giving us one of their people, maybe they could use this. 17 to 20 is really good. Brutal Strike hits a round and an additional square forward. That's cool. All creatures within the affected area. Or a different Brutal Strike that just hits the 2 squares in front. Normal Strike, I assume, is just adjacent. This elegant blade, quenched in the blood of holy martyrs, fits perfectly in the hand. The black steel has been polished until the reflective gleam of the metal can be seen even in the dark. Death Cult weapons gain the following: -8 to the target's parry, +2% to the wielder's critical hit chance for each attack they make. This bonus stacks until the end of each round. Alright, well, thanks for the cool sword. And thanks for Kibellah? Lord Imperium test succeeded. You've heard many stories about death cults such as this one. These devoted holy assassins of the Imperium have turned death into a form of worship of the Emperor. They're exemplary slayers, invisible executioners, and the scourge of traitors, heretics, and fallen souls. Many righteous people honor them as votaries of the faith, while others see their fearsome rituals as frenzied spectacles touched by madness. Examine the cultists, examine the captives. Interesting, so a death cult watches over my crew. They who honor the Emperor through killing, who devote their every deed to serving him, sacred executioners. We'll examine the cultists first. The cultists are all voidborn. Their lithe, sinewy bodies are clad in light armor, which allows them to move with an acrobat's nimble grace and strike with an assassin's swift surety. Their red and black vestments are adorned with sharp spikes and ritual jewelry. Where time and training have worn their garments threadbare, you can make out patterns of bleeding lacerations. And the captives? The prisoners cower beneath the weight of your gaze. Blood drips down the tear-stained faces of the captured officers, technomats, and workers. A word has been carved into each of their foreheads with meticulous precision: traitor, heretic, apostate, renegade. The cuts have been diligently and regularly reopened to prevent healing. So, not slaves. They are people of the ship who were caught, theoretically, as traitors and heretics, etc.
These renegades committed treachery against their domin. Their lips once praised the name of Kunrad Voigtveer, but it is your name they will whisper as they cross over to the other side.
Assuming we can trust these people's ability to judge crew members, then if these people are in fact all servants of Kunrad, then I'm okay with their execution. Interesting, so a death cult watches over my crew. They who honor the Emperor through killing, who devote their every deed to serving him, sacred executioners.
The Domin has discerned our essence. This is a great honor for the Bloodspun web. We have woven the bays of this ship together with the threads of our faith for many years. We keep the greatest relic, his tarot, through which he sends us his blessed revelations. We obey the whispers of the Undying One. This is our service to him. This is our service to you.
Let's do your portrait. Yeah. Pretty good portrait of someone. Two-handed assassin. This is Kibellah. So the one who's talking to us is in fact the one they have granted to us to aid us. And his tarot? Deck of psychoactive cards bearing sacred and meaningful images. Tarot cards are used for divination and predicting the future. They are believed to be able to capture images sent by the Emperor himself. In the hands of a skilled psyker, the Emperor's tarot can be a truly potent divination tool. Your heart is filled with awe as you gaze at the cultists. You recognize this feeling. You've experienced it before. When you walked through the scorching flame and survived, the eyes of your grim guests burn bright with the sacrificial fervor. They serve the God Emperor with wholehearted faith and devotion. So, another party member who's going to be dogmatic, sounds like. What exactly does the Cult of the Bloodspun Web do? Tell me about yourself, Kibellah. Are you the leader of the Bloodspun Web, or its herald, or its servant? Or nod to the captives? Why have you brought this rabble to the upper decks? What exactly does a cult like the Bloodspun Web do?
The tenets of the web teach us to read the threads of the future and understand the hearts of others. When a soul is filled with the poison of corruption, we know its time has come. We bring liberation. 3 strikes, 3 rebukes, 1 blade. This is how we serve the Undying One. This is how we serve you and your flagship. But there are others, the virtuous martyrs who contravene his design without realizing it. Those who have come too close to faltering or committing an apostasy, but have not erred yet. We present such souls to the Undying One.
Her gaze is perfectly still. So, you kill those who are clearly against us, against the Emperor. But people who are close to committing apostasy, but haven't yet, you also kill? Yeah, you kill innocent people. You mentioned the tenets of the web. What are they? You have my blessing. May your blades bring swift death to the Emperor's enemies. Heretical. Give a bloodthirsty smile. Continue to serve me, dancers of death, and henceforth let my name be upon your lips when you shed blood. No. Instead of helping those who may soon stumble, you offer them death? Or nod curtly. I find that acceptable. I mean, they don't seem to be a cult focused on helping those who may soon stumble, obviously. You mentioned the tenets of the web. What are they?
Our laws and teachings, our philosophy and way of life, our art of combat and spiritual dogma. The tenets are the Bloodspun web itself. Humanity owes its existence to the Undying Emperor's sacrifice. It is he who protects us from a darkness of terrors. Hence, each of us has a duty to serve him, and a duty to die for him. To act otherwise is to waste the life that has been given to us by the Undying One, to become a thief. We help others understand this. We help them to live and die righteously.
Kibellah says with purpose. So you kill innocent people.
We do not desire their deaths. We do not seek them out in the darkness. They come to us, and we usher them from this life. If his sacred tarot reveals that the Emperor wishes to accept these martyrs.
Kibellah closes her eyes for a moment. She takes a deep breath. So they use the tarot to reveal those they believe the Emperor wants martyred, even if they aren't evil themselves or haven't done anything wrong. I don't know about that. Are they even psykers? Like divination psykers? I mean, I assume they have to. Otherwise, why would they believe in the power of the tarot if it's just completely random for them? Instead of helping those who soon stumble, you offer them death?
We follow his design. We claim those marked by his omens. We submit to his will. How could it be otherwise?
I like the "you have my blessing, may your blades bring swift death to the Emperor's enemies." Specifically to his enemies. I'm not going to say that you are forbidden from killing without permission. There are certainly those that they know are guilty, that I suppose are fine for them to kill. I certainly don't want to have them drag up obvious criminals. I mean, something could be said for maybe it should be the rogue traitor who is judging and choosing the fates of people. But there are just too many people on this ship. I'm sure there are plenty of groups that police their own. I'm gonna go... This is too vague. I disapprove of your practices, but I'm not going to ban them for now. I disapprove of your practice of killing people who haven't done anything wrong, but I don't disapprove of your practice of killing those worthy of death. Or those who have done something, those who are guilty. So I disapprove of some of your practices, specific practices, but not all of your practices. I'm going to say it anyway. I disapprove of your practice, but I'm not going to ban them for now.
We lament having incurred your anger, Domin. We hope that you may yet understand there is no fault in our service before him or before the crew of this vessel.
Maybe in time I will understand better why they do what they do, and it will make more sense, but right now it just seems weird. Tell me about yourself, Kibellah. Are you the leader of the Bloodspun web, or its herald, or its servant?
I am the second spinner of the Bloodspun web. The honor of this title is bestowed only upon those who have ushered more souls than... It is shameful to speak of one's own deeds. I'm here to become your shadow, not to make boasts.
Kibellah stops abruptly. She touches a slender finger to the fresh wound on her hand and paints the symbol of a lock across her lips in blood. Ushered more souls than who? Why you brought this rabble to the upper decks?
So you may offer the souls of these traitors as a gift to him. You have the authority to order their execution. Their blood will bind us together through him. For the God Emperor, the Undying One is death itself. The Undying One is duty itself.
Kibellah touches her sharp blade reverently to her lips. The captives tremble in fear at the sight of the weapon. It's interesting to me, like I mentioned it before when we were talking about the tech priests and how they are allowed to worship the Omnissiah because it is agreed that it is still the God Emperor they are worshiping, just a different form of worship, a different aspect of the God Emperor that they are worshiping, but it's still the God Emperor. And how I thought that was a bit of a edge case and not exactly true, just so that they are legally allowed because they're needed. This is another group that clearly worships the God Emperor in a very different way than the standard view of the church, the ecclesiarchy. But they're still worshipping the God Emperor, and so it's still fine. And people understand that, yeah, they're good worshippers of the God Emperor, so they're not heretics. You're not going to have the Inquisition come down on them for their practices, because yes, they're worshipping the God Emperor in a different form. They have their own name, the Undying One that they give him, but it's still the God Emperor, so it's fine.
Give the order, Domin. Let a spinner of the Bloodspun web undergo the test of a sacred trial.
The others echo her words from beneath their bone mask. Undergo the test. Interesting to me that she mentioned that we have the authority to order their execution. Their blood will bind us together, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But when they were walking up, we watched them execute like 3 people on that carpet. So clearly she doesn't, or at least they don't think that they need us to give the authority before they're able to kill. Like they can just kill whoever they want when they want. She's specifically asking us to give an order as a means of binding ourselves, bind us together, not because there's any power to us ordering an execution that they feel they don't have the authority to do themselves. Give weapons to the traitors. It's time for Kibellah to prove herself, or I will judge the traitors myself. Let a spinner of the Bloodspun web undergo the test of a sacred trial. Is that what giving weapons to the traitors is? And I would assume whatever their sacred trial is, Kibellah, being presumably a higher ranked member, has already gone through it. So it shouldn't be Kibellah who's proving herself. I would assume they would give that to one of the younger members, a chance to prove themselves. There's so much of this that I don't understand all of the intricacies of what's going on. Like, am I going to offend her if I ask to judge the traitors myself? Not necessarily I will order their execution or do the execution myself, because it sounds like that should be done by one of them. But just judging them? Because they, I think, feel they've already done the proper judgment. And so, would they be offended if I am saying I don't trust their judgment and I want to judge them myself? I don't know, neither... Let a spinner of the Bloodspun web undergo the test of a sacred trial. Neither of these seem like a obvious answer to that statement. I will judge the traitors myself. I'm gonna go with it.
Then, I will tell you of the treacherous blood that runs through their veins.
Okay. These wretched apostates were caught trying to sabotage the reactor. They are guilty of treason. I swear, we are not The woman in tattered protective suit pushes forward in protest, but her movement is halted by the thin cord wrapped around her neck. You notice that all the captives are similarly restrained. The woman clutches her throat as a thin line of scarlet appears between her fingers. Theft of weapons, sabotage, and the deaths of the crew in Bay AL-82. Do you have proof of these charges, or are such claims the result of cultic revelations? There is doubt in the man's gentle voice. With all due respect, it is difficult to discern the truth of these accusations without evidence. Divine visions and dark portents may be reason enough for you to shed blood, but not everyone here shares your perspective. Enough, Heinrich. The Lord Captain will decide the truth of these claims for himself. What about those prisoners you killed during the procession? Did you feel entitled to stand in judgment over them? That's what I was saying. Kibellah, is it true that these things were revealed to you through visions? What do the accused have to say in their defense? I heard enough. One of the traitors come out the airlock. We don't have an option of, I've heard enough, they're free to go. What are the prisoners you killed during the procession? Do you feel entitled to stand in judgment over them? Those scoundrels aided the traitor Votvier and were caught carrying weapons. Their guilt and sentence were certain. They avoided immediate execution only so that the blood of the wicked could flow in a scarlet trail that led the Bloodspun web to your glorious halls. Is it true that these things were revealed to you through visions? The practice of sacred divination, using the bones and sinews of a martyr, led us to the reactor room. This is true, but it is also true that I beheld the act of treachery with my own eyes. blood, the bones and sinew of a martyr. You kill martyrs, good, honest people who have not done anything wrong, so that you can use their bone and sinew for divination? So, if we believe what she's saying, divination led them to the reactor room, but she saw them... Was it blowing up a reactor? Sabotaging a reactor, leading to the deaths of the crew in a specific bay. It's possible that they were trying to stop a bomb or something. Unlikely, but possible. And so she got to the reactor in time to see them messing with an explosive and just assume them guilty of setting it. Maybe? I mean, if we assume that people are innocent until proven guilty, but obviously that's not the way 40k works. What do the accused have to say in their defense? The cords around the prisoner's necks are loosened just enough to let them speak. Have mercy, we're just technical tunnel workers. We were told to block the ventilation shaft leading to the reactor room. Fume leakage supposedly. We didn't know we were doing anything wrong. We were just following orders. And as for why we were holding weapons, that was, well, you know... The woman scratches her cheek nervously. Yeah. Could be that you're telling the truth about that you were just following orders from someone high up who's actually the traitor. But why were you holding weapons? She's lying, an injured officer scowls angrily. They smeared blood on themselves and crawled out of the tunnels wailing, "Oh no, the ship's been attacked. There are enemies everywhere. Defend the bay." We rushed off to investigate, and they used their cutters to break into the weapon storage at the guard station. They stole guns and headed straight for the reactor room. That's a very different statement. Bone and sinew revealed your hubris. You abandoned vigilance for the promise of glory. You did not give weapons to the traitors, but you left your post to seek a hero's path. Though you did not act with treasonous intent, you're complicit nonetheless. You abandoned vigilance for the promise of glory. You did not give weapons to the traitors, but you left your post. So he was not guarding... So they saw people that reasonably looked like they'd been attacked, claiming that they needed to defend the bay. He rushed off to defend the bay, and they used that moment to steal the weapons. It sounds like this guy didn't actually do anything wrong. He was trying to help. So yeah, didn't have treasonous intent, but he's complicit nonetheless. His actions trying to do what was right led to an opportunity for them, as they had planned. The officer and his subordinates are to be demoted without the right to reinstatement. I hereby sentence the guilty officers to be shot. Take them away. Address the officer. I will not punish you or your men. Continue your service and do not make any more mistakes. Get this treacherous rabble out of my sight and shoot them. These commoners wanted to enter the reactor room. I shall fulfill their wish. Throw the traitors into the steam generator bay, then they can boil in there. So spare the lives of the workers, for their guilt is unproven. Let them labor on the ship, but under the supervision of the enforcers. Or throw them all out of the airlock, and let's be done with this. I mean, what I was hoping how this would play out, but clearly is not, is that we would determine who is actually guilty of this group, and then let her do the executions she wanted to do. Or give it to someone of their cult do the executions. But it seems like we have taken control, and so it's, no, if we're gonna punish them, it's gonna be some punishment of ours. So the officer... Captive Heretic is obviously guilty. The officer doesn't seem to be guilty. Is this heretic considered a subordinate of the officer? There's a lot here that's not clear as I would like it to be. I will say demote the officers because their actions led to a lot of death. But I don't think he is deserving death of himself. But he'll be an example to others. So the officer and his subordinates are to be demoted without the right to reinstatement. And what should be done with the rest of the prisoners, Lord Captain? So yeah, the others, the actual guilty party, get the treacherous rabble out of my sight and shoot them. These commoners wanted to enter the reactor room. I shall fulfill their wish. Throw the traitors in the steam generator bay. They can boil in there. I shall spare the lives of the workers, for their guilt is unproven. Let them labor on the ship, but under the supervision of the enforcers. No, I think their guilt is fairly reasonably proven. Again, wish I could give that the blood web cult to do the execution they wish to do. I think just shooting them is fine. We don't need to boil them alive in a reactor room. That seems a bit much. Particularly throwing them in the reactor room could potentially give them opportunities to do some sabotage before they die. So just get this treacherous rabble out of my sight and shoot them. I'm not saying you, officer. Again, officer, you should be demoted. Mercy, Lord Captain, mercy! Lord Captain has spoken, take them away. Again, unclear. Unclear exactly how things are playing out. I don't think the options... I'm choosing options and they're not giving me the results I'm wanting them to give. I could not honor you by ushering the souls of those traitors to the other side. This troubles me, for I wish to serve you as the sword serves its master. Will you make me your shield and shadow, Domin Ignatius? Your lordship, the spinners of the Bloodspun web were watching, tracking, and killing von Valancius's enemies long before the warrant of trade passed to Lady Theodora. However, their blade has also been known to cut short the lives of highly upstanding persons. The factotum swallows nervously, casting a fleeting glance at Kibellah, but I certainly do not in any way condemn the deeds of the deeply esteemed cult. I am sure they must have had good reason. A stern-looking woman clears her throat. The cultists are the scourge of the seditious. They bring the unrighteous to ruin. The enforcers respect the Bloodspun web, for we share a common goal, to bring his light and his harsh justice to the darkest depths of the ship. Scourge of the seditious or not, folk are afraid of them for a reason. A couple of watches ago, these spinners took a train driver to pieces for some kind of ritual. I don't know what old Malak did to earn that privilege, though. And who's going to feed his family now? A man in soot-covered uniform takes a drag on his low stick, settling the thick smoke from his clenched teeth. A man in soot-covered... We know who Heinrich is. We've talked to him. But that's a lower deck problem. What matters is the Bloodspun web serves you faithfully, Lord Captain. Confessor Adelbert. My predecessor's predecessor once delivered a sermon about how the spinners saved this vessel from the servants of the archenemy. The Bloodspun web paid the price in blood, a river of scarlet that flowed from the decks, from bridge to bilge. They became the blood of the flagship, the pulse in its vein, and the beat in its heart. Their great sacrifice earned them the favor of House von Valancius. Seems that not all of the officers have been presented to me yet. Edelbert, tell me about the spinner's great sacrifice. I wish to hear what my retinue thinks. You will be my shadow, Kibellah. She's going to be my shadow regardless. I have enough fighters in my retinue. I do not need the cult's gift. I wish to hear what my retinue thinks. I've heard through only at a distance, though only at a distance, the prayers the spinners offer up to him. I've seen how their deeds fill the people's hearts with confidence in the inevitability of its wrath. The Bloodspun web's loyalty to the Emperor is without question, as is their willingness to lay down their lives in the fight against the archenemy. Although Lady Theodore never granted the cult an audience or brought a spinner into her retinue, she respected the Bloodspun web and approved of its mission. It is strange. Their shadowy forms are swathed in darkness, yet a radiant light burns within them like a scarlet flame. I think it is a good sign. It is rare to see anyone filled with such light, even among the servants of the faith. Albert, tell me about the spinner's great sacrifice. The vessel was beset by famine and pestilence during a long warp jump. The flagship wandered uncharted paths in the Imperium for 20 cycles straight. Servants of the archenemy used the despairing hearts of the crew to infiltrate the ship, and death followed. The hungry became the hunted, the famished became the feast. The exhausted crew was too weak and emaciated to resist the invaders, but then the spinners emerged from the depths. They stood alone against hundreds of foes, yet they did not falter. They did not sleep or rest as their blade tip dance brought death. Though many spinners fell, the Bloodspun web held strong until the flagship left the turmoil of the warp. It seems that not all the officers have been presented to me yet. Indeed, your lordship. Jocasta Sauerbach at your service. I am entrusted with the honor of commanding the enforcers and keeping order aboard this vessel. It is my duty to punish trespassers, suppress disobedience, and repel any and all attacks on the ship. Yes, we know, we talked to you. My apologies for that omission, Lord Captain. I'm Heinrich Montag, head of the Infernus Guild. I'm responsible for preventing and extinguishing fires, as well as handling any emergency situations. Again, we've talked to you. You will be my shadow, Kibellah. Kibella's movements are slow, almost rhythmic, as she removes her ceremonial mask. The dark shadows of her eyes accentuate the deathly pallor of her skin, which is covered in ritual scars. Henceforth I am your shadow, Dolmen Ignatius von Valentius, an instrument of death placed in your hand by the Undying One, for so it was ordained, and so his tarot forspoke. You have a new portrait. Same portrait, you just took off your mask. The young woman bows her head once more. I also come bearing an invitation from the Vizier of the Bloodspun Web. He wishes you to know that the doors to the Undying One's temple are open to you. Are you suggesting that the Lord Captain should go down into the depths of his flagship to search for this temple? With all due respect, the lower decks are for servants and crew. They're not a fitting place for his lordship. Forspoke, what do you mean? What tarot? The tarot she's already been talking to us about? We'll ask anyway. The greatest and most sacred relic of the Bloodspun Web, the Emperor's Tarot. Only his chosen servants may earn the permission to rain blood upon the cards and perform a reading to see portents of the future, shadows of the past, or tangles of the present. However, the secrets of his tarot are not for the ears of the lay people to hear. I cannot tell you more. Not here, not now. Who is the Vizier? He is the first among us. The Vizier has spun the web of faith for fivefold longer than I have lived. Blood of the flagship's blood, my mentor and teacher. Why is the Vizier not here to deliver the message himself? The first spinner is old. His abode is in the temple beneath the flagship's freight line, and he has not left the lower decks in decades. Even a short journey could sunder the spirit from his ancient body. And where's your temple located? I'm not permitted to say. If you wish to find the temple, you must walk the path of Saint Ariane, the matriarch spider. Hers was the thread that would become the Bloodspun web. Her path began deep within the flagship, in the dark tunnels of the freight line. And that is where yours must begin as well. This journey will bring you closer to the thread of the web, closer to the Undying One, closer to understanding death. Do you not see the point of these riddles? Your temple is a part of my flagship. What is to stop me from simply walking inside? I will walk in the footsteps of the matriarch spider. Perhaps one day I will grant you that favor. Grant you what favor? the favor of me entering their temple, maybe? Or I will not waste my time with foolish riddles. I'll walk the footsteps of the matriarch spider. I've no problem with that. Your journey will begin in the darkness of the deepest tunnels. The vizier awaits you. The cultist retreats into the shadows as Kibellah sheaths her ceremonial dagger. Your blade awaits direction, Domin Ignatius. We'll speak again when the time is right.